to wear Drew Pearson number, a guy that I had watched and admired so much. I was like, whoa, this is something.
Drew had a car accident. He's okay. There was a pause, and she said, but Moose didn't make it.
And I'm on one knee. I looked to the sideline, Coach Andrew's gone. And I said, oh God, I'm gone. I'm gone.
He was such a great competitor.
He absolutely deserves to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, when you consider the era that he was playing in.
I would not say hell yes, he's a Hall of Famer. I would say yes, he's a Hall of Famer, and that's why he's not in yet.
If you dominate your era enough to be all pro, as much as these guys, it seems like he should get in.
The original 88, and he's on the outside looking in?
This should be an incredible day for Cowboys Nation, but we've got to talk about the problem that the Pro Football Hall of Fame has with Drew Pearson.
Doug, the original 88 Drew Pearson got no love from the Hall of Fame again. If you idolized him during his career like I did, it's disappointing. But for the former Cowboy, it was devastating.
Can't catch no more damn passes. Can't run no more routes. It's there. What upsets me more is when they say you don't deserve it, they talk negative about you. There's nothing negative about my career in the NFL. Nothing.
Cowboys 17, Rams 16. On third down, 14. Three-man rush on Staubach. Got the time. Going for Pearson. He's got it at the 40. Pearson will go all the way for a touchdown. A free agent out of Tulsa University. He wasn't even drafted.
Drew Pearson and I, of course, have had a very good rapport together.
Here's Roger back to throw across the middle. From Pearson, wide open, touchdown.
And then every time they seem to need a big down, they go to Pearson.
Drew was the man. You know what I mean? He was the man.
Drew Pearson! He got it!
What can you say? You know, it's got to be your biggest thrill of your career.
He understood the game. Drew was very reliable and had a proven track record.
If it was coming, he was catching it. And the toughness was off the charts.
They need something very dramatic, and they have it, Drew Pearson.
Drew had that similar type, determination of doing what needed to be done.
I would try to get it to Drew every time if I could, because I knew that he would make the big play.
What a catch by Pearson at the 19.
Not only did he have a lot of confidence, he was a leader as well, which was very important.
Yeah, Drew Pearson is a Hall of Fame receiver. He's the best. He made big plays time and time again.
He's been a Hall of Famer to us for a long time.
There's no question that he should be in there. The question mark should never even existed. There should have been an explanation for him.
I presented his case on the Centennial class. I was convinced that it was a done deal.
If you are a veteran or you're in a military family, please stand.
Oh my God.
You know, in that moment, watching him, and there was like almost nowhere to go, and I directed him to his office, my sister and I, and just to hear him let out that pain, it was heartbreaking, very heartbreaking.
I'm watching all these other guys go in, and I'm not saying they're not Hall of Famers, but I always said to myself that if they are, then why aren't I? You wait a lifetime for that, to hear those words. But man, it hurts. They broke my heart. They broke my heart.
Growing up, there was never a dull moment in the Pearson household. Born and raised in New Jersey, he was the third of Sam and Minnie's 7 children.
You know, we were always very competitive, not so much within the family, but what we were doing, because we were all connected to sports. Actually, all the boys were connected to sports. Girls back then weren't playing sports like they are.
There were so many of us, and we were actually living in a small space. But Drew was they were always all playing ball, breaking windows and everything.
You know, my dad was into politics. That's how I got my name. I was named after a syndicated columnist that wrote out of Washington, D.C., named Drew Pearson. No middle name, just Drew Pearson.
Well, with Congress back in town, the news is certainly breaking.
He loved public speaking, and he was really, really good at it. And he could hold an audience, sort of like Drew. You know, he could pull them in, and he just excelled at that. And he loved his children, I must say that.
He was disciplined about everything that we did. That's the kind of discipline that formulated me, because now I'm able to accept discipline in the sports arena. I'm able to accept discipline as far as my studies and being prepared so I can get my studies down, so I can go to college, you know, when that time came. But that's what it was all about in our household.
Just before Drew entered his freshman year of high school, however, his mother filed for divorce. A decision that saw her children move in with relatives and friends until Minnie could make enough money to get a house of her own.
For the most part, we were more behind our dad than our mom, because he wasn't there and she was, and we felt that she kicked him out and, you know, that kind of things. But, you know, as you grow up, you see things differently through different lenses, through different eyes. It definitely increased her strength and what she needed to do.
Yeah, my mom was really special. I mean, just a strong lady. She grew up in a big family herself, and so I guess that's what she wanted, you know, for herself with her family. But yeah, she was a hard worker. She did what she had to do to give us everything that we needed. Not everything we wanted, but everything we needed. And to us, we had everything.
Following in the footsteps of his older brother, Sam Jr., Drew became a star at South River High School in football, basketball, and baseball.
Our town was nicknamed Little Poland, all right? Everybody had a ski or a Hubitch at the end of their name because they called me Drewski. That was my nickname in high school, Drewski.
You know, you could see things in Drew that were extremely natural. The natural position for him is to be outside. Not exceptionally fast, not exceptionally big, just exceptionally great.
Joe Theismann. I played high school football with Joe Theismann for a season. He was a senior when I was a sophomore. Theismann, his name was Theismann back in South River. He was the quarterback. My first pass I caught in high school, in my first high school football game, was a 60-yard touchdown pass I caught from Joe Theismann, and I caught it standing in the end zone.
That team was undefeated during, I think, Joe's senior year, undefeated and unscored upon in so many games and stuff like that. And then Drew came in, okay? And he was able to carry it. So, yeah, the whole town was totally behind him. Everybody knew who he was.
Moving to quarterback in 1968 for his final 2 seasons at South River, Drew earned all-state honors in both football and baseball in his senior year. With several large colleges recruiting him, Drew instead decided to enroll at the University of Tulsa so that he could continue to play both sports.
Yeah, we were all surprised that he selected Tulsa.
And I said, where is it, in Louisiana? You know, I thought it was Tulane or something like that. Tulsa, where the heck is that? But I went down there for a couple visits, and I really enjoyed it.
Giving up baseball, Drew would become the starting quarterback as a sophomore in 1970 and even led Tulsa to an upset victory over mighty Arkansas that year. But he made a decision during the following offseason that would forever change his destiny.
Going into that spring ball, I asked him to move me to wide receiver since I made the commitment to football. And I knew that I didn't have the skills to be a pro quarterback. So he moved me to wide receiver going into my junior year.
The question now was, Would the NFL come calling? Still far away from his New Jersey home, Drew's life was changing for the better on the football field. But it was also changing dramatically away from the game as well.
I was in high school, and he was going to the University of Tulsa. And I was there with one of my girlfriends.
When you didn't see many African-American women on campus, when you did see one, you got a little excited.
So Drew comes up, and he's got this huge afro and this crazy accent. And my girlfriend and I both were like, "Where are you from?" And he's like, "Jersey." And we just started talking, and the rest was history.
But Marcia initially left out one important detail about her life. Her father was legendary Basketball Hall of Famer Marcus Haynes.
Marcus Haynes, the ghostly man of dribbledom. Just look at him move with that bouncing ball.
My dad traveled literally all over the world, and I was able to enjoy that with him. He started out with the Globetrotters, and eventually he ended up having his own team.
Married before his senior year at Tulsa, Drew and Marcia were hopeful that he would get selected in the 1973 NFL Draft. Unfortunately, over 17 rounds and 442 picks, his name was never called.
I was upset I didn't get drafted. And as the rounds kept going by and by, I kept having another shot of Boone's Farm, okay? And by the time they got to the end of the 17th round, I'm feeling pretty buzzed, okay?
Immediately after, however, his phone rang. Cowboy scout Bob Griffin was waiting in a Tulsa hotel room to sign him to a rookie free agent deal.
And I said, "Yeah, could you give me like 30 to 45 minutes or so? Maybe an hour." I said, "I got to kind of shower up and clean up, but what I really needed to do was sober up," okay?
Griffin offered Drew a $14,500 contract right on the spot.
And we got a whopping $150 bonus.
Drew had one condition, though. He needed the bonus in cash, and he needed it right then.
He said, "Why do you want that money in cash?" I said, "Sir, I need gas money to get back to that apartment." Gil Brandt hooked me up with an apartment, me and Marcia, right next door to the Cowboy practice field. And so I would recognize what car Roger Staubach had, and every time I would see his car pull in that parking lot, I'm over there at the practice field.
For three, set.
I don't know what the odds were to make the team, but right away you could see this guy was pretty cool the way he played.
He was a young, skinny guy and had a lot of confidence, and came out and started working with Roger Staubach. I mean, not intimidated at all.
So they got to know each other fairly well. He worked at his trade. He really worked at his trade.
Stay off the yellow. Working, Drew. Hop it.
What?
Hop it.
That way to work.
Drew's hard work on the practice field earned him an opportunity in the first preseason game, a matchup at the Los Angeles Rams on August 3rd, 1973, that saw him originally wear number 13.
They don't punt till the third quarter. I'm about peeing in my pants on the sideline, waiting for this opportunity. And they finally punt, and it comes down. I'm on the 50-yard line, hits me in my pads, and goes right through. And they recover it. And I'm on one knee. I look to the sideline. Coach Landry's gone. And I said, "Oh, God, I'm gone. I'm thinking I'm not going to get another chance." So they punted again later in that quarter. And he sent me back out there. And I caught it, took it down the sideline, 59 yards to the 1-yard line.
Each successive preseason game brought another highlight moment for Drew. Still, history almost turned out quite different.
You know, the Cowboys had put me on waivers and on the last cut in training camp. I didn't know this was going on until later. And they had 24 hours through the waiver process to recall me if a team recalled me. Well, the Chicago Bears claimed me, and the Cowboys had 24 hours to reclaim me. And think about this now. They reclaimed me, and now, I'm playing for the Dallas Cowboys as opposed to the Chicago Bears. It's amazing how all that kind of turned out that way. And I could have easily been a Chicago Bear, and no telling how that career would have turned out. But they recalled me, and then I became a member of the Dallas Cowboys.
With Tom Landry known for his hesitancy to play rookies, Drew Pearson recorded only 2 catches in his first 8 games of the 1973 season.
He fires it out, caught by Drew.
But when injuries forced him into the starting lineup for the final 6 games, the undrafted free agent shined, averaging an impressive 17.8 yards per catch.
So when I got my opportunity to start, Coach Landry didn't ask me, "Are you ready?" He expected me to be ready.
They're blitzing. He's going deep. Has Drew open at the 30. Drew cuts out.
If you were still surprised at the success of rookie free agents, that was your fault.
Fortunate enough for them and him, they found out that he could handle, particularly any task.
Pearson down the left sideline.
His breakout, though, came in a regular season finale, a 30-3 drubbing of the St. Louis Cardinals. Drew hauled in 5 receptions for 140 yards, which included the first 2 touchdowns of his NFL career.
First touchdown was a post corner on Dwayne Crump, caught it in the back of the end zone, did that little toe dance. And the second touchdown, which meant more to me than any touchdown I scored to that point or a long time after, was a post pattern on the left side of the field on Roger Worley, Hall of Famer. Roger Worley, I played against you in slow motion football in my backyard with my brothers, in the snow and everything else. And now I'm out here running around, and I run that post pattern, and I beat him on the post pattern, and that was a big deal to me.
Caught, Drew Pearson, touchdown!
That was followed by 2 more touchdowns in the divisional round playoffs against the Rams, the second of which came in the fourth quarter after Los Angeles had reeled off 16 unanswered points to pull within 1. Facing a 3rd and long at his 17-yard line, Roger Staubach turned to his rookie receiver.
And the last thing he said when we broke the huddle, he says, "Drew, I'm going to you all the way."
That's Bob Stein. On 3rd down, 14.
This is how accurate Roger was, okay? Hit me right between the double 8s on the 50. I mean, drilled it right to my chest. And I'd turn around and look, there's nobody here.
3-man rush on Staubach. Got the time. Going for Pearson. He's got it at the 40. Pearson will go all the way for a touchdown.
And I went 83 yards. Turned out to be 83 yards, untouched into the end zone from there.
The entire Cowboy team, including Calvin Hill, bombing Drew Pearson.
Every great quarterback has had receivers that saved him. The quarterback gets all the attention. He gets all the yards. There's a lot of times that the receiver is the guy who made the play.
There would be no sophomore slump for Drew in 1974.
Caught a catch by Pearson at the 19.
As he finished 2nd in the NFL with over 1,000 receiving yards, which earned him both Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors.
Staubach. Drew Pearson.
Goes to Pearson, 30, 25, down the right sideline to the 20. Roger back to throw across the middle. Pearson wide open, touchdown.
Drew was a year ahead of me, and I could see it as a rookie. Not only did he have a lot of confidence, he was a leader as well, which was very important.
Going out to Pearson, and Pearson has another first down.
He prided himself on going over the middle. And in those days, a defensive back could carry a tire iron and pull it out of his waistband and use it on you. And you knew it was coming. And he didn't care. And he never dropped it. In fact, it became such a point of pride for him that he used to call it Drew's Zone.
It's just hard to put your hand on exactly why he makes the big plays, but he does. And there's certain athletes that do it, and Drew Pearson's one of them.
But once again, one catch in particular stood out. In a Thanksgiving showdown against rival Washington, the Cowboys were trailing 23-17 with only 35 seconds left. That's when the Mad Bomber, Clint Longley, came in for an injured Roger Staubach.
I told Clint, line me up on the left side and let's run a turn-in takeoff. Because when I lined up on that play, on that third down, I'm over there by the bench. So I can hear them yelling on the side. Yeah, Jordan Allen, Tom Landry, Tex Ram, Roger Staubach, you know? Yeah, we got them today and all this.
They're a bunch of damn front runners, and let's come back at them. That's all they get for the rest of the afternoon.
Hut.
Back here comes the blitz, or straight back. The four-man rush again. Goes across deep for Drew down the sideline. Caught, five, touchdown, Dallas Cowboys. And you would not believe the spike that Drew Pearson just put on that ball.
Some players have a gene for making big plays. And Drew Pearson is one of the few players that I had the opportunity to play with that had that gene.
In 1975, Drew finished 5th in the NFL with 822 receiving yards.
For Pearson, complete. Right sideline to the 10-5. Touchdown!
His 8 touchdown catches also tied for 6th as the Cowboys earned a surprising 10-6 record.
Everybody thought it was going to be a rebuilding year for the Cowboys, but we got it in the playoffs.
Unfortunately, as the wildcard team, that meant they'd have to face the powerful 12-2 Vikings in Minnesota in December.
I mean, the conditions couldn't have been better for a Minnesota Dallas Cowboy playoff game with a frozen field and an environment that was tough.
They had been to the Super Bowl the previous year. They said this team was better than that team, and they're looking to finally go and win a Super Bowl. And so we had to go up there and play. It was a knockdown, drag-out game, very physical. Oh my God, very physical.
Here he goes, and he's going nowhere.
Drew, though, was frustrated. With only 1:51 left in the fourth quarter, he had yet to catch a single pass. But that's when the Cowboys took over possession at their own 15-yard line, trailing 14-10 with no timeouts remaining. Their season on the line.
Let's see what they're made out of, whether they can go the distance on, because they sure have to have the touchdown and not a field goal.
I'm a little upset because I had one pass thrown to me, it was an overthrow. No catches to that point. We're losing. Figure you can do more to help your team win. That's why you're disappointed. It's not so much your individual stats, it's that you're losing.
And if I were Roger Staubach, I would try to get it to Drew every time because I knew that he would make the big play, the big catch, right at the right time and find a way to get himself over.
Complete to Drew Pearson. Now Pearson, as we mentioned, they haven't thrown to him much today.
2 quick passes from Staubach to Pearson pushed the desperate Cowboys out to their own 31-yard line.
That was another low pass. There's another one. I don't believe it. Man, this is the crucial part of the ball game. You can't be doing stuff like that. And the clock with 1:06 down. He's hit as he threw that one. Now it's 3rd and 17. And trying to go up for the ball. And it comes to a 4th down. All on this play right here. The whole season. 44 seconds to go. 4th down, 17 yards to go for the 1st down.
And it was always Roger and Drew. Drew, what do you got? What do you got? Line up here. What do you got over there? What do you got over here? Billy Joe didn't complain. You know, nobody else. Golden didn't complain. Nobody in the hell complained because, you know, I had done it before in the clutch situation. So now they're counting on me to do it again.
Drew was probably he and Staubach, the 2 ringleaders that we knew if we got them the ball enough time that they would make a lot of positive things happen.
Staubach again. Got protection.
He was a kind of a post corner and made caught the ball just going out of bounds.
Roger going down here, Drew Pearson. And did he make the catch? He did. He made the catch.
He made one of the great catches on the sidelines to keep his feet in bounds at about 18 yards.
What a catch that was, because Nate Wright was all over it.
So we got the first down, and he's laying there, and the security guy went up and kicked him in the ribs.
Good call by the official. 25-yard reception, 37 seconds left, first and 10, and they have to score 7 points.
30-some seconds, no timeouts. He said, Drew, what do you got? I said, Rod, I got no breath. I just got you the first down.
Instead, Staubach attempted a quick pass to running back Preston Pearson on the left side that fell incomplete, stopping the clock with 32 seconds left and the Cowboys sitting 50 yards away from the end zone.
And the route we ran, we all knew what the route, as a team, we knew what the route and where it was going. If he had to get rid of it, it was going to Drew.
So now we go to a 2nd and 10, 32 seconds left.
What can you do? I said, let's run it on Nate Wright. This time, run a turn-in takeoff, okay? Turn-in was our bread and butter.
A 2nd and 10, 32 seconds left.
Taking a low snap, Staubach pump fake to the left side to try and freeze Viking safety Paul Krause.
So he pumps Paul, brings it back to me. By that time, I'm way downfield after I ran that turn-in takeoff. And Nate, bid on the turn-in, because when I came out, we were even. And I knew I had that one gear to shift into to create that separation if the ball was thrown out.
There was just one problem. The ball was underthrown.
I kind of kidded him because I said, well, Drew, I had to pump to get Paul Krause, move him over there, and that's why I intentionally underthrew you. And he said, yeah, sure.
He is going for broke. Drew Pearson, he got him. Touchdown.
So he caught it on his hip.
I saw it was underthrown. I used that swim move, taking my outside arm to try to gain inside position on the defensive back. Now, when I did that and brought that around, there was contact. He's right there. How could I not hit him? Okay? There was contact, but there was no deliberate push. You never seen any arm extension, none of this. It was just contact. And when I brought the arm around, bam, the ball hit me right there in my hands, and it went through my hands, and I caught it right there between my elbow and my hip.
Boy, what a play that was. What a ball game, huh? Drew Pearson hadn't caught a pass until the 4th quarter, and then comes back and catches a 50-yard touchdown pass.
I'm kind of proud as I'm a Catholic kid from Cincinnati, so I could have said Our Father, Glory Be, or Apostles' Creed, but I did say after the game, I closed my eyes and said a Hail Mary, and after the game, that became the Hail Mary, the original Hail Mary.
It's a great feeling, it's more than ability, it's a lot of luck involved, and I just happened to be the man on that spot right then, and must have been a lot of people praying because it was just a lucky catch.
One time I go to Minnesota, I hail a cab guy, he pulls up, I stick my head in there, he said, "You're Drew Pearson, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "No, I'm not taking you nowhere. You better take the next cab." You know how many cabs I had to go through? 3 cabs before I can get a ride to the office. I'm the enemy of the state in Minnesota, and I couldn't be more proud of that.
When you make a catch like that, what can you say? It's got to be your biggest thrill of your career.
Introducing now the starting offensive unit for the Dallas Cowboys. And finally, number 88, Drew Pearson. And he fakes to Pearson. Staubach going for the bundle. Got Drew Pearson across the middle. He might get in. Touchdown, Drew Pearson.
While Drew's accomplishments on the field may have demanded the spotlight, behind the scenes, his family was with him every step of the way. Each of the Cowboys' 3 Super Bowl appearances in the 4 seasons from 1975 to 1978 was a cause for celebration.
Yeah, I wanted everybody to be there. I don't know how I got so many tickets. But I had all kinds of family, definitely the immediate family and all that, and then friends and relatives associated that were, close to me. I wanted them to be there.
At that Super Bowl, we were in the hotel with the other players, okay? So it was like,
We had a ball. There were buses. There was the royal treatment. Family came in. We were laughing and partying and...
Because that's how my dad was. He's so loud and everything. He's just pulling everybody in. You can't ignore him, So everybody knew him. Even Tom Landry knew my dad.
Off the field, Drew's family was also growing. In 1974, he and Marcia welcomed daughter Tori, who enjoyed tagging along with mom to the games. 5 years later, in 1979, daughter Brittany was born.
Probably the biggest thing I remember is us just being a huge group of people. We would be chanting, let's go Cowboys, let's go. And then the second biggest thing would be waiting for my dad after the game. He was always the very last person.
I was about 4 or 5 when he retired, so I don't remember a lot about games. I just feel like I was there because I've heard so many stories and the experiences and the photos, and we would do things and I would notice, okay, no one else is having their dad stopped when we go to the grocery store or when we're doing certain things. So then I began to realize who he was, but it was strange because he was just always dad to me.
That 1979 season would turn out to be one of Drew's best, as he topped 1,000 receiving yards for the second time. But while the team was never able to get back to the Super Bowl during his career, Drew endured a much more painful loss in the 1980 season.
Yeah, my dad was very ill. He had lung cancer. He had a tumor in his lung the size of a softball, and had grown to that. He was a cigarette smoker, smoked those Lucky Strikes religiously, filterless cigarettes, and it caught up to him.
On November 23rd against rival Washington, Drew took the field knowing his father was in grave condition.
I knew he was sick, so I'm playing the game, and halftime comes. At halftime, I always look in the stands at Marcia and give her the thumbs up, everything's okay. Well, I looked there this time, and she wasn't there, and I knew something was up.
It was horrible. I don't even really want to talk about it, but it was not good to tell someone that you love that, their father is gone. No.
I was the last one coming up the tunnel because I knew there was going to be bad news. All the team was in already. They went to the locker room, and Coach Landry was standing up at the top of the tunnel with Marcia. And before I got to him, I'm crying, and he said, Drew, and he sat me down. We said, your father passed away. And he said, you do what you want to do. You finish out the game. You can leave now or whatever you want to do. And I said, well, Coach, I appreciate that, but I gotta play. I gotta play. My dad wouldn't want me to walk away right now.
Drew not only finished out that game, but also played just 4 days later in a Thanksgiving matchup against Seattle. Although a somewhat meaningless 51-7 win for the Cowboys, the game meant much more to number 88.
I finally got in there, into the game, and I caught one pass over the middle, and the way I always did, and got jacked like I always did. And laying on that turf, I held that ball up like that in the air. And that was to my dad. That was to my dad. And he was there with me, and I made that catch.
In the 1980s, Drew's role began to change as he saw Tony Hill now regularly top the Cowboys in receiving yards.
Go long, and they have Hill wide open.
As a veteran team leader, Pearson continued to set the standard for how the game should be played.
Pass to Drew Pearson. He caught it. Touchdown.
It was competitive between the two of us, and I say competitive in a good way, from the standpoint that, we weren't wishing anybody any ill, like you don't get any passes, I don't get any passes. Is that what are we going to do when we get those passes?
When I got here, Drew was definitely able to show me what I needed to do, not only as a receiver, but also as my work habits and what needed to be done in order for me to be a part of this team. Drew was the older, bigger brother I never had but always needed.
But the toughness Drew displayed on the field, his Mr. Clutch invincibility that had forever endeared him to Cowboy fans, couldn't prepare him for what lay ahead. After Dallas finished 12-4 in 1983, Drew again dived into overseeing the Cowboys' all-season charity basketball team. Having traveled back from a game in Oklahoma on March 21, 1984, he and his brother Kerry, who was nicknamed Moose, then stayed late into the night to prepare for the team's trip to Virginia the next day.
He was living with me, but since I was going out of town, he was going to stay with my other brother. And I was taking him over to his house in Garland.
Reference a multi-vehicle accident. 2 vehicles, there are some injured parties.
Kerry Mark Pearson was killed early this morning. He was in the passenger seat. His older brother, Cowboys star Drew Pearson, was driving. Pearson is in Presbyterian Hospital this evening, where his family has requested complete privacy.
Police determined that Drew, tired from his long day, fell asleep at the wheel and swerved into the back of a tractor-trailer truck that was parked on the shoulder of the highway.
And I woke up. My brother leaning on my shoulder, and I could tell that he was limp, and I shook him, and I could tell maybe he was gone. And lights are blaring everywhere, glass all over the place, and paramedics and people running around. And I got out, and they grabbed me right away, of course, and I asked him if my brother was gone. He said yes.
I got the call early that morning from my sister Denise. This is what she said to me, and I'll never forget it. She said, they call me Sandra, Drew had an accident. Drew had a car accident. He's okay. I'm like, oh, okay, thank God. And then she said, there was a pause, and she said, but Moose didn't make it.
I remember going to the hospital and finding out all the circumstances of what had happened, and it was probably one of the most hardest things that I've ever endured in my life.
And I was shocked, it's just, and especially when I heard that his brother was killed in the accident. I knew the tremendous impact that would have on Drew and the family. But when you deal with the players and their families for so long a time as we have Drew, then it becomes kind of like a family to you. Really, you react a lot like you would react within your own family.
I had a lacerated liver, bleeding internally. I had a broken clavicle, which you can still see here, my badge of courage. See how that sticks out? And a broken clavicle, a lacerated liver, and so they had to cut me. I got a scar here.
Due to the severity of his injuries, Drew's football career was instantly over. But while the physical damage would heal in time, the feelings of guilt over his brother's death continued to be an ongoing struggle.
That's when the depression set in, and to this day, 40-some, 50, whatever years later it is, I still fight that depression. I still deal with it. That's rooted in me. I lost my brother. You feel responsible for that. I don't care what they say, It's not your fault. No. You feel totally responsible. You took that away from your family.
Oh, it was tough on him. That day is still tough on him. I think as we've gone over the years, we have kind of been able to adjust and talk about it more. But in the beginning, it was, he shut down. It was a simple drive home, and it changed everything.
It ended up being a great concern to me, because I knew how close Drew was to his brothers from that standpoint, and that had to be devastating for him.
To see that pain and the scars, actually see the scars on his stomach and chest. But, I think of what could have been from that accident, and, really grateful to have Dad still today.
The number one thing that he survived in the situation was he he didn't leave us for good.
The deal is, you got to look at the situation and say, why am I spared? You know, maybe I was gone, but maybe he brought me back to life because maybe it wasn't my time yet. And even though my situation is very tragic and the depression within me is really real, but I am not going to let it win by me taking myself out or taking somebody else out. I am not going to let it win.
Drew would take the same intensity that fueled his success in football and apply it to the business world. In particular, his Drew Pearson marketing company became a leading licensor of headwear, securing licenses with the likes of Walmart, the NBA, and finally, the NFL.
I got all my business acumen. I didn't go to Harvard Business School. I didn't study business at Tulsa. You know, recreation administration, that was my gig. I wanted to be maybe an AD or something like that coming out if I didn't make it with the Cowboys. But, you know, I got my business lesson. 11 years as a player, sitting in those meetings, Tom Landry, around Tex Schramm, around Gil Brandt, even around Clint Murchison.
Of course, despite his post-career success, there was still something missing. For whatever reason, the recognition he deserved from the Pro Football Hall of Fame had yet to come.
He checked off all the boxes. He checked off more than 10 years played. He checked off the stats of his era. He checked off the signature plays. Over and over and over again, he had signature plays. He checked off Pro Bowls, all pros. He checked off all decade. I mean, I don't know what else you want from a receiver from that era that Drew Pearson didn't give you. He gave you everything.
Without a doubt, one of the most popular Dallas Cowboys that's ever played the game. Help me welcome Drew Pearson.
Drew's journey to Canton received a boost with his entry into the Cowboys' prestigious Ring of Honor.
Thank you very much. I always believed that this day would one day come. And I am so happy and so proud to be part of this distinguished Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor.
I wanted my performance, every game that I played for the Dallas Cowboys, to be good enough to be one day considered for the Dallas Cowboys Ring of Honor. I wanted that performance that day to be a block, a stepping stone, a building block to one day be up there with those guys. And that was my main goal.
For number 88, Drew Pearson.
I think the exclusivity of the Ring of Honor is one of the very best things about it. It's not the ring of really good. It's the Ring of Honor. He deserved to be in there a long time ago. And he deserved absolutely to be in the Hall of Fame.
But for whatever reason, that ultimate honor proved elusive.
Congratulations to all of the inductees. It was really a true honor.
Oh, God, didn't get it.
When he was then left out of the Hall of Fame's Centennial class in 2020, we all witnessed his raw emotions, his rejection, his heartbreak.
I was heartbroken for him that he wasn't getting in, and I didn't know how long it would be. He didn't know how long it would be. I mean, he may not have gotten in before he died. I mean, he didn't know that at the time.
They broke my heart, and they did it like this. They strung it out like this. I'm sorry.
So you think that maybe it happened, but
I'm sorry.
Then when it wasn't happening, you like start questioning, and then you think, well, maybe it won't happen.
And then, in early January of this year, Rich Dalrymple, the Cowboys' Senior Vice President of Public Relations, received a call from Pro Football Hall of Fame President David Baker.
David Baker called me about 2 weeks prior to when they were going to start going out to talk to these newly inducted Hall of Fame players. And he said, Rich, whenever I call, you know it's always good news.
Baker asked Dalrymple to help arrange a meeting at the team's offices to surprise Drew with this special message.
So I used two good aces in the hole. Number one was Roger Staubach, who I know that Drew would go through a burning wall of fire for if ever Roger asked him to. And the hole card was Jerry Jones. And those are two guys that are hard to say no to.
Good. Hey, I don't know if y'all get a look at it.
He and Roger are talking about stuff, and I'm thinking this has to do something with real estate. Because in the letter, Rich said he didn't know what it had to do with about the meeting, but he thinks it has something to do with real estate, or maybe the Hail Mary.
Well, it is amazing. You know that D Steakhouse? She's had her biggest months.
And then I'm like still wondering what the heck I'm doing there, and then next thing you know, you hear this knock on the door. And Jerry says, so I'm going, what? Okay, I'll answer the door. I get up and go answer the door, and bam, there's David Baker. Oh, man. What are you doing here?
What do you think, Drew?
Oh, my God. I know you're not here just to tell me hi. But anyway, when I saw him in the door, I said, oh, Lord. Because all he represents is the Hall of Fame. That's what he is. Oh, my God. Thank you.
And I want to welcome you to Canton, Ohio, which will be your home for the rest of time.
All the things I've been a part of in 30 years here, that was one of the most unique and special moments that I've ever been a part of, because it's a knock on the door that changes your life. You're not the same person walking out of that room that walked in that room.
Something you waited, 38 years to hear? I want to tell the world. I want to shout it out from the mountaintop. You know, I'm in the Hall of Fame.
This confirms it. The wait is over! Over!
I don't think there's anybody that you would talk to that wouldn't say that Drew Pearson deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
To wear Drew Pearson number, a guy that I had watched and admired. That's why I say when you put the number on your back, it comes with a little more added responsibility.
He was a great clutch player. I was so glad, so proud to have him go in with me in this Hall of Fame group.
Hail Mary blessings to you all. Hail Mary blessings all around. And let my people say, hut, hut! And trust me, there are many stories to be told along the way. It has been a journey, trust me. A tough, long journey on the road less traveled. Did I make mistakes? Yes, I did. I got cuts, I got scars, I got scrapes and bruises along the way, but I own all of them. I own all of them because they were all my mistakes. I did it my way, and I did it the hard way. So tonight, don't just honor the man, tonight honor the mission as well. Don't judge me by reaching the heights of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Rather judge me by the depths from which I've come.